Hello, this is Hector Bordas with Conversations with Hector. And today I have the privilege, I'm not sure, but we'll see what happens, of digging a little deep into the lives of Ildefonso Antonio Bordas. Yes,
Nice.
I know. And he's my brother. And it might get interesting here today. Who knows what's going to happen? So that's his real name. However, Ildefonso's tough. So we're going with Anthony, and he's actually fondly known by family as Poncho. And who is this guy? Who is this guy? He's a dentist, he's a father, he's a husband, entrepreneur, investor, a surfer, and who knows what else. But we're going to explore those things. We're going to see what he can share with us. And your birthday's coming up. What's going on there?
Yeah, we're celebrating tonight. We're going to have a big party tonight with Hector, family, without my brother Julio, and without my son and daughter Allie, because they're out of the state. And Julio's nowhere to be found. I wish he was here.
That would be
But he's
nice if it was
celebrating.
here. So, what? How old are you going to be?
I'm going to be 62, unfortunately.
What do you mean, unfortunately?
The
Why?
numbers are going too fast. The aches and pains are starting.
But wait a
That's
second. You made
why.
it to 62.
Exciting.
You made it.
I'm not dead. I'm alive.
But, it,
It's
but
it's like surreal that I'm still alive.
and you say unfortunately. That's an interesting way to respond. How would Joanne, your wife, respond to that? You said unfortunately.
I didn't say unfortunately. I said fortunately, I'm still alive. She
All right,
responds a little bit differently.
62 years old. So, and you still look good. You still have a little bit of hair on your head. You,
I got a haircut yesterday for my big birthday, so I'm
that's
looking better.
well, good. Well, good. So you're married to Joanne. You have two kids. How long you guys been married?
We've been married almost 33 years. It's been an incredible ride, but it's been the best thing that's ever happened to me.
Well, so that's fantastic to hear that because you actually don't hear that a lot. And what do you think it's what made it work so far for 33 years?
I think it's a lot has to do with Joanne, with her personality.
Uh-huh.
She is a very happy, nothing brings her down kind of person. And I'm a very nonstop, I bring a lot of stress to myself, pushing myself, a little like my dad, hardworking, hard-headed type of person. But, we all go through our phases. We've had our arguments, but we know how to argue and then move forward because if not, you can't make this happen. It's like, marriage is almost like it's a give and take situation. It's a little bit of a stressful situation sometimes, but if you make it work, it's an incredible, incredible journey once you figure it out,
It
which a
sounds
lot of
like
people can't figure out.
it sounds like you guys have done a lot of figuring out. It's almost sounds like this yin and yang. She's the happy-go-lucky, and then you're the stressful, hardworking. What does she do for you to kind of bring you back?
He just makes me realize that, like, whenever I say, damn, I'm getting older, she always tells me, what's your other option, being dead in the grave? So it's better to grow old versus being dead. So well, that's one of the things she always tells me when I'm complaining about how old I'm getting. But I think it's just her perspective is a lot different on life than my perspective. I'm always trying to be more and more successful
Mm.
and figuring ways out to create a better business or create other businesses. If she's seen me fail in a lot of ventures and then she keeps me going and brings me up and she's like the little engine in the back that keeps things rolling. She puts the fuel in me and says, whatever happened in the past, keep going. And that's what I do, you know.
So you said,
That and my family. I mean, my kids, my mom and dad, you, Julio, which I don't see much, but you guys are an important part of my life. My in-laws. I mean, I think it all comes together. It's a great thing to have everybody, together, and that's important. A lot of people just give up on family, and I think just keeping that part going.
no, it's important. I mean, we've been through this pandemic, which forced a lot of people to isolate and distance themselves from family, and now we have opportunity to regain all of that. And it's so important to keep in not just keep in touch, a few texts here and there, but actually connect physically and be able to share stories and love and so many things. So we're going to do that tonight. So your birthday, celebrate your birthday. You mentioned, this drive to be successful, and I want to touch upon that a little bit later. But I want to do a little bit of time traveling right now, if you don't mind. So
Okay.
think about yourself when you're around 18 years old. Think about that. Put yourself way, way, way back there. And who was that person?
I mean, at 18 years old, I only had my only thought in my life was actually surfing back then. I had a really addiction to it. So I'd wake up, I try to make it through the week in school, and I'm looking for the Saturday and Sunday surf session. That's all I thought about. I was just so wired into surfing, and that was about it. I was just a hardcore surfer. Maybe I didn't get to, should have taken some time off between college and dental school and gone maybe to Indo or Bali back when you can do those trips and not have crowded days. But I was this weird kid that had this infatuation with the ocean. It was just bizarre. That's all I thought about. I didn't think about women or dating or drinking. It was all about which way's the wind blowing. Is there a swell this weekend? I mean, it was a crazy thing. I don't know. And it is to this day a little bit, but that's me at 18. Just venturing in the ocean. I didn't have
Well,
anything else to think.
I mean, I can relate. It called it an addiction. It could have been an addiction, but what was it that pulled you so hard about the ocean? What was it?
It's just the feel of being out in nature and actually having a wave move you through the water, like flying in the air like a bird, and it was just a weird feeling. It still is. I mean, unfortunately, I can't surf the way I used to, but it was just that feeling of adventure, spending a weekend down at Trestles or camping down at San Onofre, going up north, just reading Surfer magazine and surf movies. It was just, I could have probably made surfing a whole career, probably the way I thought about it. I was so crazy about it. It was just a feeling of that. It could have been an addiction. Who knows? Just that feeling of being in the ocean like a fish and, traveling through the water. It's crazy.
So how did you start? What was the trigger?
A neighbor on Carmont Street had I forgot his name. This older guy used to be a neighbor. He had an old surfboard, and I remember the days when we'd go down with my mom and take rafts and put fins on them and go in the ocean. And that neighbor of ours introduced us to surfing. Do you remember who he was?
I remember him.
By
He
for like $20, and
It was a Bruce Jones surfboard.
that's how we started that whole venture. And I remember being in high school. I was probably the only person interested in surfing back in those days. Um, so that was how it all started from a neighbor, and I just got hooked. I wasn't into sports in high school. In fact, I hated high school, so that's why I left in 3 years because I was just wanting to surf and move on. So it all started then, and it continues now. The journey of surfing continues.
So then, so you had the incredible thirst for surfing. I mean, to me, it was a very spiritual connection with the ocean. It's that's the way I describe it, and continues to be a spiritual connection. And then what happened? I mean, how did that change to think about dentistry?
Well, when I was in college, I wasn't even interested in dentistry. I don't know if you knew that. I was a chemistry major. I was actually a chemical engineering major until my junior year in college.
Uh-huh.
And again, and this revolves about surfing, my mental process, and I had known a few dentists, you know, real successful dentists that I've talked to, and they all had told me, hey, if you want to have freedom in your life and you're not, because if I would have been a chemical engineer, I would have been locked down working for some big corporation. And they had always told me, if you want a little freedom in your life, why don't you go into dentistry? You can work, 3-4 days a week, take time off for lunch. It was a pretty picture that was painted back then, but that's the way it used to be. So back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and a little bit into the 90s. The 90s was probably the end of that era. It used to be called the golden era of dentistry. So dentistry used to be like a big cash business. You can work maybe 3 days a week, take 2-3 hour lunches, and make a lot of money. And that was just before the insurance companies started coming into the picture. So back then, I thought, well, this would be a good profession. I can have this was my vision, have an office at the beach someplace with the view of the ocean, have a couple of surfboards in the office, surf in the morning, work a little bit, surf in the afternoon. So I had this vision of my career going forward in combination with surfing, but little did I know that the whole business model changed, and insurance companies just pretty much took over the business. So now we're just like in the 90s onward, all the contracts for dentistry and employers are all done through insurance companies. So it changed the whole thing to the way it is now, where you have to do just volume to survive. It's not a profession where you can see a couple patients in the morning, a couple patients in the afternoon, and make a couple $100,000 a year. It's not that way anymore. But that was my idea, is to actually be in a profession that gave me a little bit more freedom. But it has given me freedom because I've traveled all over the world too. So I can't say it didn't. It obviously didn't give me the opportunity to have an office overlooking the ocean, but I have traveled a lot and seen a lot of beautiful countries. So I could at least, that part of dentistry contributed to my surfing ventures.
So I want to go back a little bit. I mean, and you mentioned being successful, and you keep striving to that. And then you mentioned this vision that you have a dentistry when you were younger. You had this vision. So what does it mean to be successful now?
I mean, I think, I've been successful. I think a lot of success comes from the family. I do live by the beach. I mean, I'm so fortunate I can get on my bike and I'm in the water in 10 minutes. So I'm very close to the beach. So that's incredible. So it's been successful because it's allowed me to spend a lot of time with the family and traveling with the family. So, and I think success is, I mean, I have this driven personality. I think a lot of us in my family do. We're pretty much all the same way. That we're always driving to be better and better every day, and I still do that, which I don't know if it's good or bad because it creates a lot of stress in my life. But I'm always learning new concepts, new techniques, teaching a lot. So, I mean, I've been successful in that way. But I think my success comes from a lot. I mean, combining the business with the family and being able to travel. And I want to travel more to experience, other worlds and those kind of things. But I mean, it's a I'm a pretty driven person. I mean, I complain a lot, but it comes down to that I really don't want to stop doing maybe not only dentistry, but a lot of other things.
So let's say go back to that 18-year-old person. Go back and then addiction or addiction has sometimes such a bad connotation, but addiction is we all have different addictions, and there's nothing wrong with some of them. It's just we're trying to fill some void. But going back to that 18-year-old or maybe a 20-year-old person, and you're able to talk to you now, the 60-year-old person, 62-year-old person. What would that 18-year-old person tell you today?
He'd probably tell me to sell everything that I have, sell the business, sell the house, and go travel for a year, and then start something else. Just take a backpack, a surfboard, take anybody with you that wants to come along for a ride, and go for a crazy ride all over the world again. But it has to be a crazy ride with a surfboard, and just try to experience areas in the world that are going to be harder to experience from a lot older from now. That's what he tell me.
So the obvious question.
I talk about that all the time to my wife Joanne. So let's just go.
So the obvious question is, what's stopping you?
Family, my mom, my mother-in-law. We've got some people that are important in our lives that we just can't leave. And that's what's stopping me.
So what part can you of that? It's not a dream. It's like this reality in front of you. What part can you do?
As far as part of that, I think what I need to do is, and I'm trying to structure it right now, is get to the point where I can take off every 3 months. Instead of taking a whole year off, maybe every 3 months take off for about 3 weeks. Hire somebody to be involved in the business so I can take off. And that way, if there's a problem with the family, I mean, with my mother-in-law, with my mom, with anybody in the family, with the kids, with my brothers, whatever, I'm not going to be that far away where I can't get back in. So I'm thinking that would be the best alternative to just flipping the switch and taking off and disappearing from everybody.
So a little more time traveling. 5 years from now, who are you in 5 years, and what are you doing?
He says 5 years from now, I'm definitely not going to be working every day like I'm working now. Maybe 5 years from now, let's see. If my body allows me to do things I want to do, obviously I want to keep surfing, but who knows? Definitely won't be working as hard as I'm working now. I won't be living here in Huntington Beach, that's for sure. We're just trying to find a place to downsize to, a little smaller house, maybe Central California, maybe the North Shore, Kauai, and Princeville, which would be a nice place to retire to. But definitely 5 years from now, I won't be working, 5-6 days a week. But I will be working, doing something to keep my mind going. But maybe seriously, maybe like on the North Shore, Kauai, in Hanalei Bay area, which would be a really nice place to chill out to and die, I guess. Retire, die, and have my ashes thrown into the bay. It's a beautiful place. It's very, it's magical in that area, and we actually have been there several times.
So what steps are you going to take to make that happen?
Well, making sure I'm financially able to do this. That's number one. So I'm working on that, and then just you know, just phasing out of here little by little.
So what are you gonna do to prevent like your 18-year-old self, this surfer, adventurer, incredible connection with the ocean? What are you gonna do so then 10 years from now you can tell yourself, wow, I actually did this. I am living in Princeville.
Well, I'm good. What am I going to do to make it happen?
Yeah.
I'm going to make it happen. It's
Well,
going to
like what?
happen. I'm going to sell all of this, sell the real estate here in Huntington Beach, sell the business, and jump the ocean, go west, go further west, deep into
Okay.
the hardland of Kauai. It's going to happen.
I hope so, because so then I can go there and hang out.
For sure, it's going to happen.
Well, that's I
Definitely not going to stay in Huntington Beach.
no, I want to see that happen. It's important. It really is important when we're driven to do those things that we have to make them very real. And every day you got to take a step to make it real. So let me ask, kind of change the subject a little bit. You have two amazing kids, Allie and Matt, and they're your kids, and at the same time they're very different.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're not that different. I mean, I know them. I interviewed Allie, and she was so amazing. Hopefully, we can interview Matt. Um, tell me about them. What makes them so special?
Well, they're both very driven, like. I think that comes from the blood of my dad. The way they work hard. I mean, they are both really. I mean, they're both very successful, and they're driven. And they keep driving. So maybe that comes from the way, they see me work, and I'm always constantly, I'm always reading either dental scientific journals or investment journals. That's what I do. I don't read a lot of other books or anything like that. So maybe that comes from that part of them watching me as we grew up. I've always pushed them to be successful. They're different in two ways. I mean, Allie is a little bit more, I think, more mellow. She's actually she's very driven, very smart, but she's definitely more mellow, and she sees the world a little differently. She's a hardcore surfer, so she enjoys that part of the world. She's adventurous. She likes to travel. Even travels by herself. She traveled to Bali by herself. She traveled to Alaska by herself. She's going to Portugal in a couple months by herself. So she's got that adventure bug in her that she likes to take off. Matthew's actually very driven too, but he's not he's more of a homebody like his mom. He likes to stay home, likes his organized structure, day-to-day structure. He creates a schedule. But he's very loving like his mom. He wants to be very, very successful. And he's not as adventurous as Allie as far as going out and taking off and trying to discover the parts of the world. But he has had adventures. I mean, he's worked in London. He's worked, he's worked in back east in Oklahoma when he was with the startup. He's lived with them alone out of his house since high school. He went to college, left the house, did a startup in the Bay Area with some friends. So he's definitely adventurous in that way, but he doesn't have the free spirit surfing mind that Allie does. So that's the key things about both of these kids.
It's so amazing. They have your genetics, and at the same time, there's differences, and which that's just how it is, and that's what makes them so special. They are amazing I'm going to call them kids, but they're adults now. So let me ask you something. What do you want to say to them that you haven't said?
Um, I don't know. I don't think there's anything I can say to them. Just live your dream. I mean, they're both living their dream. They're doing what they want to do.
Uh,
And they both take risks. I mean, I gotta hand it to them. I mean, Matthew's with his second startup now, and Allie's actually right now she's actually changing careers.
uh,
She's leaving a very demanding, successful job to go to another venture that she wants to do. So, they're just doing what they want to. They're actually on auto mode. I mean, there's not much more I can tell them to do. They've done a lot more than I've done in my life, probably.
so I'm going to change the question a little bit. What have you said that they haven't heard?
What have I said that they haven't heard? I've said it all, honestly. They'll turn me off. Sometimes I'll say a lot of things that they don't want to hear.
Exactly.
And then they'll turn off. They'll shut me off their texting or their cell phone and stuff. But I do say a lot of things to them that they don't want to hear. So
Okay. So our dad passed away on April 17th. Amazing memories about him, and as a father, as a husband, in so many ways. What's the biggest lesson you learned from him?
the biggest lesson I learned from my dad, I mean, just honesty. He was so honest with everybody in his business. I mean, he would never screw anybody at the gas station in his life. He was that's how I am. And as far as my business ventures and the people I deal with, I'm super, super, I never try to screw anybody. And he had so many, friends because of that. And he was really successful in business. I mean, just honesty and actually family. He was so committed to my mom. I mean, he went through as you know, it was a war zone sometimes with my mom and dad at the house, but they actually got to their differences and made their marriage so successful. Just awesome.
That's pretty amazing.
What would my dad do if I'm in that situation? So, yeah, he was quite an incredible person.
Yeah, he really was. I think about him all the time. So that's maybe one last question. And I'm stealing this from one of my favorite podcasters, Tim Ferriss, so he gets all the credit. If you had a billboard, metaphorically, and you could put anything on the billboard, what would it say?
Anything on the billboard?
Everybody will see it.
The West is the best.
Because of Kauai.
Because the world's better on the West Coast. It comes from a Doors song from Jim Morrison's poetry.
Oh, okay. So tell me more about that. What's the meaning behind that?
It's just about life and the ups and downs in life, I guess. And when it comes down to it, you've got to break it down and move on. And he used to always say that the best is the West whenever he was traveling all over the world. So that's what I tell my kids when they want to move on to other parts of the world to come back because the West is the best.
So today we're gonna celebrate your birthday. So, okay, so you're gonna get to pick whatever you want to eat. What is that gonna be?
I like this. It's not gonna happen tonight, but fresh fish right out of the water. That's my favorite. Like when we were down in Mexico with the family a couple years ago during COVID, I took Allie and her boyfriend out on a panga off the beach, and we caught a bunch of Dorado. and literally got the Dorado and they threw it on a grill for us. I mean, just get it, throw it on a grill and eat it. So hopefully this place will have super fresh fish. I love really fresh fish. So I'm hoping to eat maybe a good fish, maybe some good sushi. I don't know. The best thing about tonight's being with everybody. I'm not a big fan of birthdays, but it's just hanging out.
Well, that's the most important thing is our connections, not just to our family, our extended family, our friends, and always maintaining those connections and being kind to those connections and finding ways to help them through whatever they're going through. And so just want to thank you for your time. And I know we're going to go have dinner and we're going to have a few drinks. And it's going to be fun. But I just want to tell you I love you, and I love love all your family. You guys have been amazing to me over the last few years. And thank you. And so if somebody wants to be your patient, how do they find you?
They can just Google me. I'm all over the internet.
Okay. All right. We'll end it like that.
All right.
And just want to wish you a happy birthday.
All right. Love you guys.
Okay. Love you.